game Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 broke records this week, becoming the biggest selling launch across games, film or DVD, taking $310 million in North America and the UK alone. It also prompted debate in Parliament over the violence of the 18-rated game. The first-person shoot-'em-up is set 5 years in the future and wheels through Afghanistan, Rio de Janeiro and the former Soviet Union as an anti-terrorist squad take on Russian ultranationalists. Peter Millar, you spent many hours mining the delights of these games. How did this compare?
It's absolutely brilliant. I was entranced by it all the way through. From the moment you pick up the controller, from when you're climbing up the ice wall, pushing the two buttons, putting your your ice picks into the thing. It's brilliant. It's immersive. Yes, it's extremely violent. But then we live in a very violent world. We have soldiers being killed every day. It's a violent world. It's a violent game.
Did you feel that it was moving to the kind of next generation?
I think it's absolutely decadent, actually, especially in terms of what we've just been talking about. And the idea, I mean, I'm not against the idea of immersing in other realities, and I'm not against the idea of the fact the future is going to involve little things that this hints at. This to me is just, I'm impatient. This is too primitive, it's too connected to violence, it's too connected to negativity, it's still just shooting at targets. The idea
so
of
you're
what
saying it's actually quite crude?
I think it's very crude. I think it's like a bit...
And yet the graphics are amazing.
It's a bit like a silent movie in the early 20th century. We now know what happened 50 years later, It's a bit like I'm impatient. This is like a 50% of 1% of what will happen. And this to me is outrageous in a way. And the problem is the hermetically sealed way that the people into games treat the people not into games is also interestingly fundamentalist, because they immediately make it like, oh, you don't understand. And that really worries me, because fundamentally it's a toy. No, it's a toy that suggests in the future we will be able to immerse ourselves in virtual reality, which is very exciting.
It's a toy.
It's a simulation. And actually what you say about people into games treat the people who aren't into them, it's the other way around. It's people like Keith Fowers and possibly yourself who don't even know how to play the things and therefore say, we don't care, these are just stupid toys. I mean, it's a simulation. It's no different from a Formula One. Your Formula One game, right? You can say that's violent. Of course, it's not real. It's a simulation. It gives you some of the kicks. It builds the adrenaline. It gives you some of the fun.
It gives the guys...
It gives
the guys the gigs, but not the girls. Sorry, it left me completely cold.
I mean, it's all this wonderful thing about, it's got a plot, it's, all sorts of things are changing. It's still about killing. I can't quite understand the connection that there is with the idea of killing.
But isn't it the idea right now? I mean, I can't believe how many this is sold, and it's in your local petrol station, it's coming in on Tuesday night at midnight and so forth. It is the world in which we live just now.
Well, it is, because obviously, and I can see why the world in which we live and your wars tonight, which everyone's got on the television every night, do influence demand for this. But hang on a minute, there's still some sort of moral question about how much you've handed to that. It's a fantastically hypocritical idea that in a way you're supposed to be in this anti-terrorist squad, but basically, you're going to kill civilians along the way. And you get you do, because I watched you doing it, because you're better at it than me.
I didn't even get that far. You do not have to kill civilians at any point in the game.
I know you don't, but that's
I tried to kill the officer.
I wanted to come back to you, just very briefly back. So what about it influencing other genres?
Yes, well, I think video games will influence the film industry in a major way in 5 to 10 years, maybe earlier. You can already see it in the latest James Bond movies, where linear narrative and closure is replaced by levels. You go from one level to the next.
Okay, why is it just taken off? Tell us why this is done, $310 million.
Because it's very exciting, because it's first-hand, and because actually, if you really want to know, because if we have troops coming back from Afghanistan who we're calling heroes, we're teaching you how to do it.
Isn't it great to be so bloodthirsty without any kind of consequences?
Right, well,
it's absolutely obscene, really.
The
idea that you should protect it just because you're having fun and we're not, and you know how to play it and we don't.
Okay, well, I don't know how to play it, but I'm afraid I have lots of time to learn. We have to finish now. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is published by Activision.